In this video I will show you in 5 simple steps how to make a progress bar in Articulate Storyline that automatically shows the progress per slide to a user of your e-learning module. Hey, I'm Mark from Upward Online Learning, where I teach you how you can create e-learning modules in Articulate Storyline yourself. And are you new here? Don't forget to click the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Ready? Let's go to work. Before we start creating the progress bar in Articulate Storyline, I want to say that the way I build this progress bar is first published by Pete Brown in a blog post on coedproductions.wordpress.com in 2013. I will put a link to the original blog post in the descriptions of this video. Which objects do we need to create this progress bar in Articulate Storyline? First, 2 shapes, one as an empty background for the progress bar, and the second shape will contain the states for the percentages of the progress bar. We'll need a radio button, 3 variables, and some triggers with which we'll ensure that the progress bar will work. The first step to a working progress bar is to graphically design the progress bar. Now, in this example, I chose for a simple rectangular progress bar that is made up of 2 shapes. So you can see here on my timeline. And the first shape is for the background of the progress bar. And the second shape consists of all the states for the different progresses or percentages. And you can see here on the states panel. Now make sure that you give the shapes a width that is easy to divide. Don't use a width of 341 pixels for example. The shapes of my progress bar are 600 pixels wide. If it's completely filled, the module is 100% complete. So I can also calculate what is 1%. Simply divide 600 by 100 and you know that 1% is 6 pixels. So my progress steps are 5%, 5, 10, 15 and so on. So I know that my steps has to be 30 pixels wide per step. And I have placed 2 shapes on top of each other. That way the user gets the idea that the bottom bar is filling up, so you can see here. And I also want the progress bar to work automatically in the course, so you must be able to easily add or remove slides without having to adjust the progress bar on each slide. So therefore the progress bar will appear on the master slide of the course, and you can do this through View, Slide Master, and I place it on the master slides on top. Step 2 is creating variables in Storyline that we'll need later. Therefore, click in Storyline on the button where you can manage all the variables in your project to create 3 new variables that we can use later in the triggers. Now, in this example, I already created the variables, but the first variable that we have to create is a variable of the type number. I call it screens in course. We will use this variable to store the total amount of screens for the entire e-learning module. The second variable is also a number variable, and I call this variable screens visited count. And in this variable we will keep track of how many screens we visited in the e-learning module. And the third variable is also a number variable, and this variable is named screens visited percentage. And with this variable we will calculate what the exact percentage is of the screens we visited, and so we can show the exact percentage of our progress bar. The third step to a working progress bar is installing a check. A student must be able to navigate back and forth in a module, and if he returns to a page where he has already been, this page should not be included again in the progress. Otherwise, the progress bar in the course will be filled up before the module is finished, and that is not what we want. So therefore, I will add a radio button through the tab Insert, Input, and here you can pick a radio button. And this radio button or this check is not visible for a student, so I'll place it outside the screen of the course, and I'll give it the name Visited Screens Check. In step 4, we're going to calculate the progress of our progress bar. And in this step, we create a number of triggers in which we use the variables that we've created in step 2 and also the radio button that we've added in step 3 to ensure that our course automatically calculates the progress on each screen of our course. So the first trigger that we have to create is an adjust variable trigger, and I've already created the triggers in this example. And there's an adjust variable trigger where we add 1 to the variable screens visited count. And there's also a condition that this trigger will only be executed when the radio button visited screens check state is not selected. And with the second trigger, we will change the state of the radio button visited screens check to selected when the timeline starts of our master slide. And this means it will be executed on each slide in our course. And so we can see if a user already has been on a slide, then the radio button is selected. If not, and the radio button is not selected, we know that the user has not been on at the slide, and we can add it to the selected page count. And a third trigger is a trigger in which the variable, and I will show it here, screens visited percentage gets the value of screens visited count. And in trigger 4, we perform a calculation to calculate the current percentage in the course. So we will use the outcome to determine which state of the progress bar should be displayed on a slide. So here we divide the variable screens visited percentage with the number of slides visited so far by the variable screens in course. Here a value between 0 and 1 is the outcome, where 0 is the beginning of the course and 1 is 100%. So if our course has 45 pages in total and we are now on slide 5, then we are going to divide 5, that's in the screens visited percentage, by 45, that's the total amount of screens in our course. And this comes out of 0.11, and this means that the student is now at 11% of our course. And in this fifth and final step, we are going to create a series of triggers that ensures that Storyline shows the correct state as a percentage when this percentage is met by the a calculation that we've done earlier in our trigger. So the trigger that we are now going to create is a change state trigger, and we are going to change the state of the progress states a rectangle. And this trigger set the progress bar to state 10. And in this state, the progress bar is filled 5%. So I'll add a condition to the trigger that states that the trigger is only executed if the variable screens visited percentage is between 0.004 and 0.10. So this means that if the screens visited percentage is 0.05, 0.06, 0.07, 0.08 or 0.09, then this state has to be shown to the user. And as you see here in our example, this trigger has to be repeated for all states in the progress bar. So I'll use steps of 5. So you see here a trigger for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and until 100. So finally, 2 attention points to see if the progress bar works. So the first is to see if all calculations are performed correctly on each slide. It's useful to put a text field on the master slide with the variables. So you can see here. And if you test your module, you can check whether the variables are shown the correct values. So if you have made a mistake by accident, you can easily find your fault. And the second thing that we have to do is to ensure that the progress bar works properly. We have to make an adjustment to the properties of the slides that we're going to create. So I will show you which adjustment it is. So I'll go to a slide and I'll go to properties, and when revisiting must set to resume saved state. And this ensures that the radio button remains selected on every slide, which ensures that the progress is not counted when a student goes back on a page where he's earlier been in our course. Did you like this video? Don't forget to give a thumbs up below and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get practical tips every week about creating e-learning modules with Articulate Storyline. Until the next video.